Hello everyone, thank you for joining me today. My name is Apinya Bulaksakul. I am a data analyst. Today I am delighted to present a comprehensive report on preparing for the upcoming influenza season. In the next few minutes, we will explore the key insights and trends that have arisen from the data, providing us to make informed decisions to combat this critical health challenge. Let's begin by understanding why we should prepare for influenza season in the US. As you can see from this statistic from 2009 to 2017, over 40,000 lives died each year in the US due to influenza. This emphasizes the need for immediate action to safeguard those who are vulnerable to its effects. To prepare for the upcoming influenza season, we must ensure that our medical facilities have sufficient staff to handle the increased patient load and deliver the best possible care. Then, the next question is, when is influenza season? To prove this, I examined the trends of influenza deaths monthly over the past years, year 2009, 2017. Here, y-axis shows the number of influenza deaths. The visualization indicates a clear seasonal pattern. To pinpoint the exact timing of the influenza season, let's take a closer look here, which specifically shows influenza deaths by month. The chart exhibits a compelling pattern that can be divided into 4 distinct phases. The first phase, starting in September or the beginning of autumn, we observe a gradual increase in the number of influenza deaths. The second phase, from November onwards, we see a sharp rise in the number of deaths, reaching its peak in January. This period corresponds to the cold winter months. The third phase, after the peak in January, we notice a gradual decline in the number of deaths from March. This decrease corresponds to the end of winter. And the last one, the fourth phase, from April to August, the number of deaths remain relatively low. In conclusion, high influenza-related death rates occur during the cold months, starting from September until February. Alright, after indicating the influenza season, let's move on to examine who is at the highest risk of influenza deaths. I've analyzed the data by categorizing influenza deaths into age groups. Here, people under 5 years, and then every 10 years age group, and the last group is over 85 years, which align with the grouping by the US Census. The analysis indicates that the highest number of influenza deaths occurred in the last 3 groups, specifically adult over 65 years. Which also aligns with the vulnerable populations identified by the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, or CDC. Okay, now let's compare the data between two groups. Here, the light green represents the influenza deaths in people under 65 years, and the darker green represents the people died who are over 65 years. Here, the comparison clearly indicates that around 90% of influenza deaths occur in individuals over the age of 65. Alright, now we shift our focus to geographical analysis to identify which states require additional medical staff. In our spatial analysis of the US map, we have incorporated two essential aspects to gain a comprehensive understanding of the influenza impact in each state. Firstly, the green color here represents the state's population. The darker shade indicates a higher population count. Secondly, the red dots in the middle of each state represent the number of influenza-related deaths in that specific state. The darker red shade signifies a higher number of deaths compared to other states. We can check here by year. By roughly observing these two variables, we particularly notice a relationship where states with darker green here also tend to have darker red. To further visualize and analyze this correlation, I've created scatter plots here to show the relationship between these two variables. The scatter plots show a clear positive correlation between the population size here and the number of deaths in each state. This indicates that the states with a higher population size are more likely to experience a higher number of influenza deaths. Okay, now let's move on to the summary of our key findings. First, the high influenza-related mortality rates occur during the cold months, starting from September until February. Second, the age group over 65 years have a higher influenza-related mortality rate. Third, states with a higher population size are more likely to experience more influenza deaths. Based on the analysis, I propose two key recommendations to enhance our preparedness to the upcoming influenza season. First recommendation is to prioritize medical staff allocation by considering the states listed in the top 10 with high demand for medical staff, ranking by influenza deaths and ranking by death rates. Here. I strongly recommend prioritizing the allocation of additional medical staff to New York, Illinois, North Carolina, and Tennessee, since they have both high number of influenza deaths and high death rates. Second recommendation is to optimize medical staff allocation. In states listed in the top 10 low influenza death rates here, shows that some hospital and clinics may be experiencing overstaffing. So I suggest allocating medical staff from these states to states with higher demand. Okay. For the next step, we will need additional data, which includes bed occupancy rates of hospital and clinics in each state, and also the number of existing medical staff in each hospital, and also the cycle of influenza. By accessing to this data, we can precisely determine the necessary staff requirements and strategically plan the timing for deploying temporary medical staff accordingly. Okay, thank you for your attention, and if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to share. Thank you.